course, director Ben Wheatley. Producer Marc Provissiero. And then the writer Kolstad. And then, of course, Odenkirk. First, I want to say, pull out your phones right now and scan that QR code to do your audience vote. If you miss it, get it in the lobby. And then I also want to say, because I forgot to say it during the intro, this was the first 35mm print that we've run at South by in like 10 years.
Woo!
Thank you for making that happen.
Did you guys like it when you saw the 2, 3, 2, 1? I loved it. I thought that was great. I'm glad that happened.
Yeah, it's a very cool way to do it. So I've got a ton of questions for this. I mean, Marc and Derek and Bob, you guys have worked together in different capacities. I'm curious what configuration came together on this? Was this an idea that had been brewing for a long time? Did it come together very quickly?
We were on the movie Nobody. And that's what I fucking love that movie. And Bob was doing a shot on a bus, and Marc and I were on the bus behind him. And Marc just asked me, "So what else are you working on?" And I told him, "I wrote this thing last night." And pitched it to him. He's like, "That's awesome." And then we got busy. And then Bob called 6 months later and said, "How was that thing?" And he said, "Because it's awesome." And then we got busy. And then Bob called me one day and he's like, "I want to do that thing." And so I brought it to treatment. We blew it up. We rebuilt it. Went off to the races to write the screenplay. We met Ben. And it was super easy. These things are ungodly difficult. But the joy every step of the way was palpable.
And like, how about putting the whole package together, Marc? Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we had this.
How many hours do you have? That was so fucking hard.
It was, yeah. And this was an independent movie. I don't know if you guys know that. So we had the script. I mean, Derek was, was one of the most sought after writers literally in Hollywood. Wrote this on spec, and we agreed, we'll all produce it, and Bob starred, and Derek's writing it, and I'll be the lead guy producing, and then so when we had the script, and we had this package, and we were missing the director, because you have to put those pieces together, and then you go to a film market, and you try and get enough money to make the movie, and we became more familiar with Ben's canon of work, and there were love letters for this movie. And so when Ben had tasked, it really was a matter of, the Marcus just said, this all makes tremendous sense. And we went to Berlin and had a tremendous sale there, and we raised enough money to make the movie. And so when we were shooting Nobody 2 up in Canada, we just kept the cruise and rolled right into, we just stayed up there for 4.5, 5 months, and we stayed up and rolled right into making Normal, heading into the winter, because winter was sort of the a pretty critical ingredient. So
I've got a lot of questions about the winter production, but before that, I want to then, aside from the names involved, what drew you to the script specifically?
Yeah, you've broken my answer, because it was the names involved, obviously, but it was one of those things that you get. I get a lot of scripts through from my agent, and this one obviously has Derek Kolstad and Bob Odenkirk on the front of it, so you go, "Oh, I see, that's interesting." So, but I really wanted to do. I've been hankering after doing extending the kind of work from Free Fire and doing another big action thing, but also in the spirit of kind of trying to cover all genres, I'm still looking for that musical, but this was there was a cowboy western gap in that, and then this was it's a neo-western. It's a sheriff in a town, and I was so excited about that. And then once I read when I read the script, I think it's this mixture of kind of the propulsive narrative, but also the kind of industrial accidents that also happen within the story, which really appealed to me. So you can be there's a morality to it, but also a randomness to it, which I really love.
And for Bob, I mean, you have a story credit as well. I'm sure you very...
I was able to contribute to the first part of the piece, which was the part where the town is funky. Something's weird, and it's kind of funny, and the people are kind of cute, but not. There's something wrong. And so Derek is very open-minded to people going, what about this? What about that? And so I've always felt very free to talk to him about ideas, and my ideas end when the action really gets going, because I do help with a little bit with the choreography of the fights, but there's a point where the movie, if you know me, you know I'm from comedy, so I didn't study action my whole life like these guys did. So there comes a point where I let go. But the first third of the film was really intriguing to me. There's Lake Wobegon was a touchstone. And did anyone see a movie called Cold Turkey ever?
Yeah.
I've never mentioned that, but I've always thought of it because I watched it many years ago. Norman Lear wrote, produced, directed.
It is Norman Lear.
Anyway, he directed, yeah. He wrote it too. Yeah. I just said that part can I help with, and I had some ideas about the mayor and the trip to Japan with the previous sheriff and the money they raised too much for a small town and things that are just like, that's not really what it's like. If something's wrong here. And so he let me contribute to that. And so I got a story by credit. But in the end, I story by the first third.
Well, I mean,
I would say though, come the end of it, we say this phrase all the time, but like, iron sharpens iron, best idea wins. And come the end of it, your name's gonna be on it anyway. You gotta, when you're doing an independent movie like this, all the egos at the door, we just wanna do cool shit, cool.
Speaking of the cool shit, I mean, the action in this movie is insane, and it takes place in a very cold environment. It sounds like that was baked into the script from the beginning, maybe because you knew where you were going to be shooting, or was it always cold?
I always like the idea of these movies being man versus God, and in this reality, it was the storm. And yeah, I'm from Madison, Wisconsin, so like, it's cold. But then you go further north to Superior, then Winnipeg, and all of Canada, and I have nothing to complain about the cold of Wisconsin. And the smartest thing we ever did is, at a certain point, move inside and actually build out the sets there, because there were a couple of days where the Californians and even the dude from the UK walked outside and you're like, there's no wind, it's -30, and it's not quite December, so it was brutal.
Well, our Canadian friends were warning us it's going to be cold, it's going to be cold. We're like, yeah, whatever. And then when we shot the scenes in the town, I remember walking out from my warmed up little trailer area and just feeling, it was almost like my nose started crackling as it froze up the hairs. And I turned around and everyone had frost on their eyelashes. I'm like, holy shit, this is cold. They were not exaggerating.
The snow also allowed us to have our Winter Wonderland ending, where we could cover up the traumas from the night before, and so it helped us too.
Could have been in the fall or something, just under some leaves.
Then during pre-production, Ben would always comment like, "Hey, boy, that snow is like really difficult," and I would share that with Derek, and Derek would just go, "Yeah." Okay. He wasn't taking the bait.
Yeah. I mean, I can shoot action all day long, but storms are difficult as shit to shoot. So that was my fear the whole time. Oh god, it's half the movie is in this storm.
Well, it looks fucking great. Now, when it comes to crafting the actual action beats throughout, Derek, do you write in a very specific, like, blow by blow for the scenes? Is it more of just this person ends up here, this person ends up there? How do you craft it?
Yes and no. Like, a lot of the sequences we talk through together, because I love the Final Destination movies. I'm a horror guy. And so it's always like, you plant a seed to bring to creative harvest, like the thermometer. And honestly, I was cackling. I still love the bank manager going to get his gun and then tripping. So that kind of stuff's in there. But for the larger, like mano-a-mano fights, especially with the last sequence in the kitchen with Bob, and then with all the cops in the Yakuza, I'll write out the first couple of kills and then kind of do a broad strokes of like each give as good as they get, death by 1,000 cuts, so you get a sense for the reader. But then when you meet with the second unit, the stunts guys, you're kind of like, see what we're doing here? And then you let them just go sprint and run free. But the coolest part about the people we work with is we like hanging out with them. And in the midst of it all, you can kind of go, it'd be cool. and the stunt guys we work with be like, yeah, that'd be cool. And it was ultimately how we got to what we got.
There's a lot of story.
I'm going to take some credit. I want to take some credit. I don't get enough credit, do I? No. So in the kitchen, they had choreographed a fight, because they do, and the gun gets knocked out of my holster, and then it just sits there, and we keep looking at it, and they're fighting. I go, no, someone's got to get a hold of the gun. And so I came up with the snake thing. And then once he has the gun, now we got a problem, because he's got to shoot it. And I love how you guys reacted, because he's trying to get up, and we have the drawer open, which is where I got my thing from earlier, and his just hand goes in it, and I shut it, and it goes off, and that wouldn't actually hurt. Except it would hurt your wrist. The bullet would just go through the wood, but it feels really violent, doesn't it? It feels like, oh shit! It worked. We got the bullet trigger.
The flash,
What's that?
The flash would burn, the muzzle flash.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Might, yeah. It is a wood drawer. We just shoot right through it, but.
Some of my favorite set
But it's really
pieces-
fun to invent stuff like that and figure out a way to like use the gun, but not have the hero get shot in the head.
And it's a good moment to just mention our stunt team, Greg Rementer,
Greg
Justin
Rementer,
Kyle McLean, Manny,
Amazing stuff. We better, before we take another word, we should say the name of Ellen Rudder.
Ellen Rudder, where are you?
Now listen, a movie like this.
Stand up, Ellen Rudder. Stand up.
Ellen Rudder, everybody.
Stand up. Thank you, Ellen Rudder. Phil Stillman's here. Thank you, Phil.
Yeah, a movie like this, you see many independent films here, and whatever you make, and many of you make films, you use every penny that you have. And someone like Ellen is the reason this movie is on screen, is because we couldn't have made this and done all the things that we did without someone with her expertise and her hard work ethic. She never quit on this movie.
I mean, it's the kind of film where you can feel how much fun everyone was having making it, like from cast to crew. Like that's the perception that I get, at least, and it seems like that is it.
Yeah.
And so with that in mind, as we're running out of time, one of the last questions I like to ask is, a few years from now, when you look back on this production, what is, the first memory you think that's going to come to mind, or what is one day in particular that you hope you don't forget? Let's just go down the line, starting with Ben.
I think for me, it was probably and this is a bit of a dull answer, but it was the first day. It was doing, we've been working towards it. And then, because we were editing on set as well at the same time, so I kind of came out for that first day and saw what we'd cut, and it was just, I was like, it all come together, and it was great, and I was like, now moving forward, this is going to be terrific. But it'd been such we've been waiting about a year and a half to do it. These guys have been a lot longer on it, but it was that, release.
What about you, Marc?
This may be cliche, I hope it's not, but it's 3 a.m, it's 5 degrees out, and you're watching a cut, and you're watching Henry Winkler's head getting blown off. And you just look at each other, in the thing, whatever you call it, or surrounded for heat, or you just look at each other and you're like, you gotta be fucking kidding. Like, this is really what we're doing? This is my job? And so, yeah, that was fun.
And in direct contrast to Ben, mine was the last day. Usually, on most shoots, You get the last week and you look around you and you think to yourself, fuck that guy, fuck that guy. I want to go home, right? This wasn't that. It was summer camp, and I walked by Ben's station, and he's like, Derek, come here. And he took a moment, he looked at me and goes, can we do this again? And then he said, can we just only do this again? And I was like, yeah, Ben. And then we walked over, and a couple minutes later, we wrapped Bob. And everyone clapped, Bob left, and he was back in a minute to hang out with us for the rest of the shoot. He just wanted to get rid of that goddamn mustache.
It's not so bad. I'll grow it again, if need be. There are sort of a lot of memories for me of how great a time I had. But I have to do more than one, so. Yes, the kitchen fight was a fucking blast. It's just fun to invent something like that. We were working in a small space that's a real kitchen, not a stunt kitchen. And you have to do your choreography perfectly, and you have to, no mistakes. And we pulled it off. And then I'm going to say the two scenes with Jess McLeod in the pickup, talking to the daughter of the sheriff who's alienated from her town, and has, the journey that character, they, has gone on, and feeling for that character, and the scene with Lena Headey where he talks about his past and losing his sense of purpose and belief in himself. I think that was a great monologue, and I told you that when I read it the first time. And it was a monologue that you wouldn't often find in an action film. There's a maturity to it, I believe, and a truth to it that you just wouldn't, no one would take the time and attempt it. Proud of it. Lena was amazing to work with, and it was brilliant, Derek.
Well, that's a great note to end on.
Incredible. I want to thank Magnolia Pictures. You guys have been incredible. Thank you, Magnolia.
Thank you.